Welcome to the National Women's Fitness Academy podcast. We're here to talk about women's health, female hormones, body image, and all things health and fitness.
What is up, girls? Welcome back to another episode of the Women's Fitness Academy's podcast. I'm your host, Siggy, one of the WFA's educators and a women's online coach. Today, we've got a special guest. I have the absolute pleasure of speaking with Beth Clare today, who has 9 years of coaching experience. She specialises in women's strength and physique training, as well as the recent owner of Glute Academy HQ, which is around the ethos in results-driven and empowerment for women to strength training. From participating in bikini competitions, taking out a bikini overall champion in New South Wales, and placing top 3 in most of her other shows, Beth is your go-to woman when it comes to training. So welcome, Beth. Thank you for coming.
Oh, what a lovely intro. You can just keep on going. I love that.
All right, let's keep rolling with it.
I'm excited to chat.
Me too. I'm excited about today's conversation. It's literally going to be around all training, most likely glutes, as we all love to train our glutes. But before we get started, I would love to know a little bit, when you first started strength training, what was the one challenge you faced and how did you overcome it?
Okay, so I've been training I'm 29 this year. I started training weights when I was 17. And I think just in the early days, my biggest kind of mistake and struggle was I thought more was more. I always had that analogy of I have to train 6 days a week. You know, the more I train, the more results I will get. And that just resulted in me constantly injuring myself or constantly having, issues with my hips and just my body not simply being able to keep up with the amount of training I was thrashing it with. And then therefore, obviously, when you get injured or when you're not recovering from your training, that's going to take out your training performance. And actually, it can work the opposite way to what you would be hoping, like in terms of more is more. So I think just over times, and as I became more mature as a lifter and as a trainer and as a coach, I learned that more does not equal more. You have to listen to your body and take care of your body. And, we should all be striving for more quality sessions rather than, trying to just train every day of the week to try to get more results. I would say my biggest mistake was always just trying to thrash my body and not taking care of it and listening to it in that sense. Whereas now I'm a lot more kind of in tune with myself, my body, and I don't thrash my body every day of the week. I train 3 to 4 days a week and more so for enjoyment.
I love the fact that we started on this conversation because it literally brings up memories of me thrashing myself in the gym due to whatever I ate or did, and literally was doing so much junk volume that by the end of this session I was dead to the world.
Right, saying it, yeah. But you know what? I think that a lot of most fitness professionals or most people who are fitness enthusiasts do go through a period of time when they're striving for, and I think that we need to go through those mistakes or go through those phases when we're that we can learn from them. And then fitness is really a long-term game, so you learn from it and then you adopt a more sustainable approach, you would say.
What is your approach right now in terms of your training?
Well, I actually been set back with an injury for it's 3 years now, but I feel like I'm coming to the end of it, it was abdominal tendinopathy. So out of my last bikini comp, my last ever, I'm not into the bikini comps and that type of vibe anymore. But yeah, I got abdominal tendinopathy. So it's really set back my training the last 3 years. And initially it was really difficult. But now I'm at a really great stage where training's a positive addition to my lifestyle. It's not the main driver. I strive, I'm very busy with my business, and that's kind of my main priority at the moment. So I strive to get in 3 to 4 sessions a week. I train full body sessions, but I'm so much more in tune with my body. And I think obviously through any setbacks or I don't really like to say setbacks. I feel like you learn from it and you can, improve, and then that's going to be better for your long term.
Bit of a hurdle.
Yeah. So like I feel like it really gave me that perspective of like, be more in tune with my body. And like I strive to get 3 to 4 sessions in per week. But if some weeks I can't get 3 sessions in, I don't beat myself up anymore. I strive to make progress over time, not every week. And I just really focus on enjoying training. Like obviously I have a really big glute emphasis. I love glutes. I'm obsessed with glutes, hence why I love the Glute Academy. But I just feel like I have a really positive relationship with training, and it's a positive addition rather than my main focus, which I think that it should be like that for everyone.
When was that switch in terms of your training? Because we're talking about how it's more of a positive aspect to your life right now, where
Yeah.
previously it sounds as if it was the main factor.
But,
Yeah.
yeah. Look, I think, like I said, like over the last 3 years, it's been very difficult for me. Like for someone who's been so highly involved in sport and fitness all of my life. Like before I started in the gym, I did like representative sport pretty much all my life. So all I really know is like training, fitness, and it's always helped me feel good. So I think like when initially I went through that injury, previous to that, I was like at my peak performance with my strength training because, even though I did bikini comps, I pretty much trained like a power lifter. I was at my peak physique back then, and then going to like be struggling to sit down without being in pain. It was kind of like a wake up call for me. Like I definitely don't think I was over obsessed with training back then. I just really loved to like push myself, and I loved that kind of aspect of the competing side of things. But I think just from being able to be grateful that I can move my body now and have that gratitude towards my body after being in pain constantly for like probably a year and a half, I was in constant pain. So I think just having more so gratitude that I can move my body and I can train without being pain free had really helped me just get to that positive stage.
Mm. I really admire that because a lot of people don't necessarily look at training that way.
Yeah.
We're all high achievers, especially as well. I can speak for a woman because I'm a woman, but especially as women, we're always
Yeah.
striving for the next best thing, whether it's
100%.
building your glutes, fat loss, strength, competing. But sometimes you just have to like peel those layers off and be like, cool, what is the main reason that you are training right now? It's like to make you feel happy, to feel positive.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think as well in my early 20s, I just, I was so fixated on my fitness goals. I'm 29 this year, and I'd like to think I live, a really wholesome life. I go out for cocktails on the weekend. I'm not obsessed with my training to the point where it's going to put me in a bad mood if I can't get to my session. And I think like that getting to this stage has helped me enjoy training so much more than just trying to get that session done, if that kind of makes sense.
Yeah, totally. Because I can relate to that, especially for last week was a crazy week for me. I only got 2 sessions in, but this week was balanced a little bit, quotations, balanced. And I managed to get all my sessions in. So again, we always strive for consistency, but sometimes consistency is going to look a little bit different.
Absolutely. I always say to my clients, we should strive for consistency over time. If we can strive to be consistent most of the time, then that's what consistency should be about, rather than striving for consistency every day or every week, because it's simply not realistic. And then what happens is we beat ourselves up when we don't tick off those tasks that we aim to do. So yeah, that's kind of my take on it.
Yeah, I love it. It's such an important take for everyone to understand, not just in terms of training, but I think work as well as business owners. Sometimes we're wanting to find that consistency. And a lot of our listeners are coaches all wanting to become personal trainers in the industry. So for them to realize that, hey, sometimes some days you're not going to have that consistency that you're wanting.
I always strive for weekly goals. Like when it comes with business, like I have so many different aspects of my business, and it's like I was saying to you, you said, how's your day? I'm like, chaotic. It's just always, it's chaos, but that's what business is about. And it's the same thing with consistency. Like, each week is going to be different. Some weeks you can tick off all your tasks. Next week, you may not be able to because life happens, but striving to, set weekly goals or striving to be consistent most of the time is how I believe you get places. Like you can chip away over time.
Yeah, Totally agree with that. In terms of the consistency side of things, I don't know why it came up to my mind, but we were talking about when to push and pull back intensity. And I think that's really important because that's in relation not only to life, but training as well. And because of your injury as well, you had to pull back a lot on intensity. Yeah. How was that for you?
It was really challenging. So it was 2019 when I got the injury. I also had hypothalamic amenorrhea at the time. So like when I would compete, but even when I wouldn't compete, just because my body, it kind of it gets affected by a lot of intense training. So like I have to monitor my intensity to make sure that my menstrual cycle can be regular. So at the time, like I was also trying to gain weight back and get my period back. I wasn't sure what was happening. But yeah, like it's just, you have to listen to your body. And I think as well, like in terms of like when to push and when to kind of pull back, it's all about being in tune with your body and in tune with yourself and listening to your body. Like I remember years ago, I would just still get that session in if I had a sore hip or something, because I just needed to get that progressive overload in. So I think it's important, and this is what I teach a lot of my clients because I have a very lifestyle approach to coaching, is, like training is a long-term game. You may be having a stressful week of work, okay? And maybe, you aim to also have an intense week of training, but it's not going to be realistic because your sleep quality might be bad, your stress may be high. So that's a perfect indication it's time to maybe just go back to maintenance, or maybe, have a deload week, because we want to be training with intent and, obviously getting good results. So, you have to question yourself, will you be having a great training week? Or is it going to be more beneficial for you to, look after yourself, try to get extra sleep in, try to, calm down a little bit, and then have a better training week next week, rather than it to be like one week of deloading could end up into 3 weeks of deloading if you weren't listening to yourself. So yeah, if that kind of answers your questions on when to kind of push your training and when to not, I feel like it's a constant self-awareness game in terms of training. And I think that when you can really nail that self-awareness and, be able to make changes when need be, sometimes it's not going to go to plan in terms of how you plan out your training phase or whatnot. But I feel like you're going to get better results from, being in tune and, changing things and being adaptable, having that adaptable approach when need be.
Self-awareness, pardon?
Also with the menstrual cycle, like as females, like that's going to change our dynamics of training, but also with business as well. Like, I think that's something that doesn't get spoken about. We're different to men, and we are always striving high, like that high achiever mentality, like you said. But, we're different, like because we, obviously we have our menstrual cycle and whatnot. So also being self-aware around your menstrual cycle, and then maybe making changes if need be, around that time.
You made such good 2 points there. The first point was in terms of self-awareness. I find that a lot of women are not in tune enough with their body, and either they're quite fixed minded around training that you just have to like push, hard. That's the way of getting results. And then the other point in regards to that is not knowing when to actually pull back on intensity. Yeah. And like you said, you're not wanting to trigger an injury or, your own mindset in terms of stress just because you have a heavy session to attend to. Perfect example, this morning, I had a heavy leg session. My back tweaked a little bit on the trap bar deadlift. After that first set, I was just like, nah, did not feel right. This is not good. I'm just going to change it. Ended up doing seated leg curls, and I was able to continue the session. So it's just, again, with experience, it's going to come to you a little bit naturally. But like you said, instead of just pushing and then injuring yourself again or getting a new injury, might as well keep it low a little bit.
Yeah. And I think as well, just like to those listening, like remembering fitness and training is a long-term game. Yeah. If you love training and you want to be, I know I want to be training when I'm like, 90.
70. Yeah. Well, 90. There you go.
That girl lifting. So, if you want to be lifting and training and moving your body long term, then you have to look after it. So, I think that's something that we need to remind ourselves, because there's no need to rush like the process. Enjoy the journey, because when you achieve X amount, you're going to want to achieve more than that. That's just the way that we are driven. That's something that I always will remind my clients. When you lose X amount of weight, you're going to want to lose more. You're going to want to build your glutes or do this and that. So we're always going to want more when we achieve more. That's just that. That's just the way of life. So don't rush there's no need to rush or to try to rush to get results. Enjoy the journey.
Where do you think this rush comes from?
I think there's a lot of pressure within the society, but I think as well, like social media at the moment is like only showing a lot of people's like highlights or like, transformation progress of like real fast results, and then people comparing their results to others. But we have to remember that, we cannot compare ourselves to anyone else's progress. We all obviously are genetically different. We all have different lifestyles and different responsibilities. How can you compare someone's results who's a mum of 3 kids to someone who's a single 22-year-old with, just a part-time job? Like that's, the comparison that people don't look into. So I think there's a lot of people comparing their progress to other people's, when I just strive you to just, I always tell my clients, like, just focus on yourself. But I think as well, just, people want results. That's at the end of the day, people want results. They want them now, and there's a lot of just craziness going on in the industry of like, let's do this to get results fast. That like, it's just becomes kind of like confusing, to be honest. So, I think to sum it up, just people want results tomorrow. And that's just that. And it's hard to just, it's hard to explain, or it's hard to accept that you're not going to receive, you're not going to achieve your results tomorrow or in 6 weeks. So I'll always say to clients, like, think about long-term gain, but work on other areas, that's outside the athletics and it's outside your strength performance, that you can also work on along the way, like your mindset, your lifestyle, your relationship with food, all these other things that are also wins along the way as well.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And again, it comes down to like the marketing side of things, because they sell it to you as if you could get it tomorrow. And that's something that as coaches, we have to be honest with clients and be like, hey, that's not really realistic for, whether it's your lifestyle or whatever instance is that they're living. But yeah, I think honesty comes a long way with having clients, making them understand that the progress is going to take time, and they shouldn't just solely focus on the training side of things, because just like you and I, we focused so many years on just getting results and doing whatever it is that we were pushing ourselves to do, and maybe it pushed us a little bit more to getting injured. We don't know.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a tough one, but people need to realize that it's and I love the fact that you also mentioned before, it's focusing on other areas of life as well, not just training.
Yeah. And I think that's it. Like, your training should never compromise your quality of life. I'll always say to my clients, like, I never do anything. I'm not the coach to give an aggressive cut to a client. I just don't do it, because I've done so many aggressive cuts in my life as well. And I know what restrictions that comes with that. And I want my clients to be able to go out for a cocktail on the weekend with their friends. So I think as coaches, and if you're a coach listening, I think that a lot of maybe new coaches think that their clients expect results from them straight away in 6 weeks or whatnot. So I'll always just say, you're not going to get results straight away. I actually don't focus on results initially with clients. So that's something that I do with my people that work with me one-on-one online. I don't offer that anymore, but yeah, so for my one-on-one online clients, or even for my Lifestyle Academy members, like I always say, the first 4 to 6 weeks, again, it's very individual, we'll just be focusing on setting up a solid foundation. It's going to, because people don't set up that foundation first. They go straight into the results, and then they can't sustain their results, because they go striving straight for the results. So that's why I always will push the foundation, until you can get the foundations in place, that will be until we start creating a deficit, working towards fat loss goals or whatever it may be. Same with training, setting a solid foundation of great technique prior to increasing weights or, pushing progressive overload, setting a foundation of consistency, striving for 2 sessions a week instead of 4 sessions a week, instead of going, I want you to train 4 days a week and they just simply can't adhere to it and they feel guilty for not doing it. So setting a solid foundation, being honest about that, making that the priority, and then you've got the rest of your life to be smashing goals. But honestly, people aren't seeing results or they're not sustaining their results simply because they're trying to rush the process and they're not setting themselves up for sustainable results.
They're taking shortcuts.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and shortcuts does not give you the long-term success. It might give you a success for the first week or two, but then what? You go back to where you started.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And that's definitely a mistake that I've made in my own journey as a trainee and even as a coach. And I love the fact that you mentioned that we need to start building more of a foundation phase for clients, because you know what, maybe you can relate to this as well, Beth, but when we first started as coaches, I didn't do a foundation phase. I literally just had my client in. I'm like, yep, cool, let's fucking smash it. Let's do X, Y, and Z. And awesome, you're sweating, you can't speak. Great, see ya.
100%. Like, I feel like, and that's something as well I like to, because I also mentor like new PTs as well. And I always say to them, like, when I first started, I was just doing the most stupid things looking back, but we all start somewhere. But if you can, be honest with your client, let them know, we're focusing on technique today. And like, that's the main focus, you'll increase the difficulty with your sessions by increasing strength over time and whatnot. But, I feel like a lot of new PTs just want to have their client feel dead at the end of the session and like, they've had a good session. But like, if you're educating your clients along the way, then they're going to understand and they're going to be okay about, having those initial sessions being, more so on the foundation side of things.
It comes down to education as well, not just educating yourself as a coach, but making your client understand why you're doing certain things for their own benefit. Because let's say you get Sally across the street and she's like, I just want to sweat. It's like, awesome, Sally, but do you know that sweating is actually not a form of progression? And she'll be like, what do you mean?
Exactly right. Exactly
so
right.
I love that. And you know what, for our listeners, everyone makes mistakes. Beth has made mistakes. I've made mistakes. Like, that's how you progress over time, by being a better coach.
It's just learning. Everyone has to start somewhere. And, if there's a lot of coaches out there that are very fixed minded and they're not going to be open to trying different methods or whatnot, I'm a coach this is my 10th year of coaching. And I'm still learning and I'm still trying to learn new things and changing maybe ways I explain things and whatnot. It's a long-term journey to be a PT as well. So you should always be learning and you should always be open to listening to other PTs or learning from others, and also be okay with saying, I'll get back to your clients. Like, I've got one of my new girls that's working for me now. She's absolutely amazing. And she's a new PT. I've been mentoring her up, Tiana. She's awesome. But I've said to her, if you're not sure of a question they ask you, just say, look, let me get back to you. They're going to respect you more for doing that.
There's no harm in saying that you don't know, because then that gives you more of the chance to like research and understand better.
You know when the next client asks you.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. That's a really good point. And I want us to continue on those points regarding some tips for the new coaches. So now we've entered going, you're educating your new PT in terms of like, hey, doing your research. What are some other tips that you could suggest for new coaches entering into the industry?
Absolutely. I think it's just, like I said, don't rush thinking that you need to know everything from the start. Okay. Something that I'll always say to girls that I mentor, and like to Tiana, my new PT here, is your client does not care really all the funky words that you're saying to them. They don't care
they don't even understand it,
how intense you are trying to explain it. They just want to be able to lift with great technique. So you don't need to be trying to use textbook terminologies and whatnot. Just simplify things. And something that we're really big on here at the Glute Academy is giving our clients confidence. You know, if you have a new client that's come in and they don't have any experience, let's face it, they're not going to be great from the get-go. Okay. So we want to be still giving them confidence, not trying to overcorrect them, not trying to, defeat their confidence by trying to, pick on every little thing. I teach my girls like main cues and then secondary cues when it comes to like training, because we want to try to keep things as simple as possible. So in summary of that, when it comes to educating clients with new technique, keep things as simple as possible. Fix things that are need be rather than trying to confuse them from the get-go. And if they're not doing it great, as long as they're not hurting themselves, just, give them some confidence still, and they're going to then be able to have the confidence to improve. And I think that's something that a lot of kind of PTs stress out about, and we have to remember, if you're new to anything, you're not going to pick it up straight away. So give your client as much confidence as you can, even if they're maybe not doing the best. They will do good in time, but give them as much confidence, simplify things, and it's going to make the experience so much more enjoyable for them. But also they're going to, have that confidence to try rather than feel like they're being, they're stupid, they don't know anything.
Yeah, so true. I love giving clients one takeaway, whether it's in a, face-to-face session or during the online coaching session, just so they can take one thing away with them for the week and, advance a little bit more in that. Because like you said, if you overload them with too much information, it just goes in from one ear and out of the other.
They don't care. They honestly, guys who are listening, they really don't care. They just want to be able to be training with great technique, making progress and having fun.
They just want results.
And another tip that I'd love to give to any new PTs is, if you're having fun, your client's having fun. PT is meant to be a really fun, positive environment job. And we are so grateful to be in this industry. So if you're enjoying yourself, like I'm 10 years in, I'm just like ecstatic when I coach. If you're having fun and you're enjoying yourself and the vibes are good and whatnot, like they'll be having fun as well. So make a fun environment and build a community. Anyway, I could talk all day about this.
I love it. So passionate. I love it. We spoke before about life balance, something that we're not doing quite well at the moment, and that's fine. But I really want us to dive a little bit deeper around that. Before we started recording, I was just like, Beth, how's your day? And you're like, oh my God, it's chaotic.
Yeah, it's definitely chaotic.
So in terms of, that work-life balance, does that exist for you right now?
Not really. I'm pretty good with boundaries, and I'll give you guys some tips on boundaries in a moment. But I think in terms of business, like something that a lot of people won't understand is that there's going to be weeks when you need to just prioritize the business a lot on your plate. Like for me at the moment, my workload is very intense. Like I don't know how I get everything done, but I just manage to do it. So I think you need to, people who are in business need to accept that there are going to be weeks when you need to sacrifice, doing, not maybe going to certain events you want to go to or doing certain things for yourself or whatnot. That's just kind of how business is. But we should always be striving to implement boundaries to help to kind of recharge our batteries, because we're giving a lot to our clients, and you owe it to yourself and your clients to be your best self and to be carrying good energy. So I'm really big on, making sure that we fill up our own cup up first. So I'm really big on having like a really strong morning routine. It sets me up to fill up my own cup and my own needs first at the beginning of the day. So make sure whatever your morning routine looks like for you, that helps you feel calm, relaxed, and recharge for the day. Do something that you enjoy. I'm really big on having a really a really strong morning routine that works for you, but also implementing boundaries. Boundaries is key to business, and boundaries around clients. We're so accessible to people online, Instagram, emails. I don't give out my phone number anymore, but even like phone calls and stuff like that. So, scheduling out time for yourself and scheduling out time when you're working, and just try your best to stick to those boundaries, and also ensuring that other people know what your boundaries are. because a lot of the time we can get frustrated or upset. Oh my God, like, I'm trying to work, but people don't know your boundaries unless you let them know. So you just have to own what your boundaries are, or, own any, events that you can't go to because you're working and whatnot. Own it rather than try to make excuses.
Yeah, and that's a beauty when it comes to setting up boundaries, but also saying no. I find that learning to say no was a really difficult for me.
Absolutely.
A really difficult thing for me to adjust to, because as a former people pleaser, I would be happy to say yes to everything. But when you do that, you literally just burn yourself down to the ground.
100%. And I think, like, for me, like, especially opening up the gym, like, I was so busy beforehand, but now I've got the gym, people can physically see, like, whereas before when they're online, like, what are you doing? It's like, now they physically can see. But I feel like for me, just something that was just so, like, game changer, I was just, like, literally owning what I'm doing and owning what my priority is and being totally okay with that, and just saying it to my, maybe a friend wants to get dinner or something, just for an example, and I've got deadlines to make. Instead of saying, oh, like, trying to, like, fiddle around, you can't do it, just be straight to the point, saying, look, I really love to see you. At the moment, I've got really, like, I've got a lot of deadlines I need to meet with work, which is my priority at the moment. I'm going to have to prioritize this, let's arrange to catch up another time. Like, just say it straight out. Be honest with those around you. They'll respect your boundaries rather than trying to fiddle around saying no.
Yeah, and then you just stress out about it, and you don't end up being more present with the person with whatever you said yes to.
Yeah. And just, like, letting the people around you know, like, my family know I'm very busy. Like, if I go visit my parents and I'm say to my mom and dad, oh, I'm going to have to work, or, they're like, yep, cool, you just go work, or they won't disturb me or whatever. Like, they're totally understanding that that's important to me and that's my priority. So, they don't make me feel guilty for working. So, like, letting people around you that, are close to you know, like, that it's really important to you, and that they will respect that.
So true. I love the fact that we're talking about boundaries, because too often people don't make them a priority, or they're scared of setting out boundaries because they might think, oh, that client may leave me, or they won't understand where I'm coming from. But like you said, just setting it up from the get-go, it can come down to business hours. If you tell your clients, hey, I'm available from Monday to Friday, 9 till 5, this is when you can contact me. Perfect. If they contact you on the weekend, it's just like, you have to be strong-willed enough not to message that client, because then you're breaking your promise and your boundary to your own self.
Absolutely. And then you teach people how to treat you, or teach people how to, be able to be accessible to you. I always recommend as well, like, turn off all your notifications. Like,
yes,
I still had my email notifications up for, I've got like 4 different emails for one of my emails, and I just would stress out when I see them. So now I have all notifications off, and it's just so calming.
It is, seriously. I've had mine off for quite a while, to be honest. And sometimes when I see people and their notifications off, it actually gives me a form of anxiety. I'm like, doesn't that stress you out? And they're like, yes, but I need to know this and that. And I'm like, no, you can't do this.
Yeah. And I think even, like, scheduling time when you are getting back to emails, or scheduling time when you are going on Instagram, replying to people and those sorts of things, is something that I think is really important as well.
Yeah, not being accessible 24/7, which is something that a lot of coaches sell to be like, unlimited.
God, they're lying. They're lying. That's something I spoke about in one of my podcasts.
Did you?
Online coaching. There's no coach that's available 24/7.
Not at all.
I don't know why they would say that.
Yeah. I don't know if it's like a form of, hey, I'm accessible for you all the time when you need me. But that also, I honestly don't agree with that, because that makes the client dependent on you.
Yeah.
You don't want a client to be depending on you for the rest of their lives. You want to teach them the foundation to build on their, like, with you, and then eventually go ahead and do it on their own.
Absolutely. And, like, even with the boundaries, like, from the get-go, you let your client know. If you need to contact me, do it via email. I'll get back to you within 48 hours, business days, or whatever it is for you, whatever you can commit to. And, I'll always recommend to trainers to always aim to under promise and over deliver. So that way, you're not saying, I'll get back to you as soon as I can. And then you're not, and then like it's a bad relationship with that client in terms of communication. Like, customer service and communication is a massive part of success within within the fitness industry, which I also think doesn't get spoken about enough either. So I'll always strive, like, obviously have your boundaries, but then also, aim to, make sure you're setting those boundaries that are realistic for you to, get back to emails or whatever it may be. I think is really important. And also, like, people contacting you on social media, like my clients know, like, if they need to contact me, email me, because I can't do the Instagram thing and the email thing, and just it's too chaotic.
I find it's too confusing. I've set that boundary with clients, and they know that Instagram is mainly my business platform. It's not a client platform. They need to contact me either via email or through the app that we use if they have any inquiries. And that way you're able to separate the two. Absolutely. And not get lost with everything.
Yeah. So work out what your boundaries are, let your clients know, but making sure you're setting them so that you can over deliver.
Be strong-willed, girls. Like, if a boundary makes you feel really uncomfortable, that's probably a reason for you to actually set it into place.
Absolutely. And like, you're doing it for yourself and the success of the business, really. Like, I know that if I'm having a frazzled week, I would say I debrief with myself. Okay, why was I frazzled? Why was I feeling chaotic? Why was I feeling overwhelmed? Okay, it's because I didn't go for my bike rides. It's because I didn't get to do my morning walk. It's because I didn't have time to have a lunch break this day, and I'm not having time for myself. So what do? I schedule that time, because we're always scheduling business tasks. We're always scheduling clients, always scheduling this. But do we schedule time for ourselves? No, people don't. So schedule the time out. And if you're someone like me who's crazy list lady, I have lists for everything. If you have it on a list, go for a bike ride. Okay, I've got to go for my bike ride. I'm going to tick it off because I'm a high achiever, So that's something as well I'd like to maybe give as a advice.
Seriously, to-do lists are the best. Even like Google Calendar, I'll have my whole life on it.
Oh, I use Trello.
Oh, yeah, Trello's good too. Yeah, love Trello. I've dabbled into it a little bit. I do more of my content stuff on there.
Yeah, I love Trello.
So good. And I love the fact that you mentioned that you have to list down your bike rides as your you time, because I always get told off by my coach, and he's like, Sig, you need to like relax a little bit more. And I'm like, where do I put that relaxing time? He's like, dedicate it, put it into your schedule.
Literally schedule that time for you, because if you want to make it in the industry, like, you're not going to make it burning yourself out. Like, you're not, like, I know for myself, I'm very kind of high functioning when I'm feeling anxious or overwhelmed, when I can still hustle through, but it just gets the better of me and I feel overwhelmed and feel anxious. And I don't like feeling like that. And we shouldn't be making ourselves feel like that. So, fill up your own cup up, like, even if it's something really small, sitting outside and reading a book in the sun. I don't know, it could be something so simple like that. But whatever it is that makes you feel calm and happy and relaxed, try and schedule time to do it.
Yeah, I love that, because it looks completely different to what I love doing, to what you love doing, to what the other coach next door is doing. Yeah, and that goes back to morning routines as well. Like, we're not going to go so much in depth into that, but making people realize that a morning routine looks completely different to, the other person next to you, because there's so many gurus out there. They're like, oh, you have to do this and you have to do that. And it's just like, not everyone's going to be able to achieve those things.
And that's the thing. There's so many, if you're hiring a coach, or if you're thinking that you need to tell your clients do this and that, like, you don't. Like, it's so different. I always say to my clients with morning routine, like, they all have different morning routines, because we're all different. We're different lifestyle in the morning, different times we need to be at work or whatever. I always just say, like, do something that helps you feel calm and relaxed and productive for the start of the day. Like, for me, I like to stay off my phone until after I've had my coffee, because I was just finding myself on my phone, on my emails, and feeling like frantic to start off the day. So try and feel relaxed if you start your day. I'll always write down my intentions for the day. have my coffee and whatnot, and go for a morning walk. And that's a boundary. So I'm not going to schedule anything in before that.
Yeah, I love that.
Honestly, I feel not good if I don't do that.
And it's so real, because I think it was this morning or yesterday morning, I sometimes, again, like you said, you have those mornings and you're like feeling frantic, so you end up on your phone, but you notice how it makes you feel. It makes you feel like shit, because it like brings so much chaos, your own social media, you're checking your client messages, your emails, like all of that, all this information build up in your headspace. And then the rest of the day, you're just feeling like absolute shit.
It's just a lot. And I think like even for me, like I'm on my phone, I'm on my computer so many hours of the week, because most of my business is still online, even though I've got the gym now. But I want to be more present this year. Like I don't want to be on my phone. Like, life is meant to be lived. And I feel like today's society, we're so in our phones, like worrying what people are posting, worrying what we're posting, replying to people like all through the phone. Like it's just, it's too much. Like I'm really an outdoors type girl, but I like to schedule, like even my social posts. I post on Instagram, 5 to 7 days a week, but I've got 2 accounts now because of the gym. So I schedule those posts, and I know when I'm posting, I've got the captions ready. So I'm not like sitting there at night saying, oh, what am I going to post, and spending so much time on it. To the point where like I'm having more screen time. So, and then I post it, and who cares about the response? Post it, see you later.
Yeah, so good. Again, that comes down to setting boundaries, not being fully addicted to the phone. It's actually stepping away from it and being a little bit more present.
Yeah, it's so hard to do though. And I feel like people don't talk about it because we're all addicted to our phones. Like I just said it, we all are. I'm addicted to my phone. We all are.
Yeah, 100%. If someone says they're not, they're lying.
And no one talks about it because we're all addicted.
Yeah. Would you say that's one thing you're wanting to improve this year?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Just want to be more present without, I feel like I am present. Like if I'm, it's only really, I feel like because I live on my own and I've lived on my own for 3 years, which I love because I'm actually quite an introverted person. I recharge when I'm on my own, but I feel like at night I'm like either working or on my phone. So I'm trying to just try to switch off.
I think a lot of us need to start switching off a little bit more.
Yeah, it's just the world we live in.
Crazy times. Bringing back that feminine energy.
Oh, I struggle with that. That's something that I struggle with.
Most of us do, because we live in such a masculine, strong energy. And for us to just take a step back and do fun things like taking a bike ride or just chilling in the morning and having coffee, you feel as if you're missing out on something, or you're not being productive because you're just sitting on the couch having coffee.
Yeah, that's why I bring up the menstrual cycle before, because I feel like I've spoken about this on a podcast before with someone else, but as a boss, you'd say a boss babe, you'd say maybe like a girl boss society that we're in now. We still get our menstrual cycle, but we're still thrashing ourselves to get tasks done, get things done, like be productive and whatnot. I mean, I'm lucky I don't really get like a bad menstrual cycle. I don't really get many symptoms and whatnot, but it's not the same case for every female.
Yeah.
Some females get really bad symptoms around that time of the month, and then they're still thrashing themselves to be productive and get this done and whatnot. And it's just an interesting topic for another day.
Yeah, literally for another day, because we can go down that wormhole for an hour.
That's a whole topic in its own.
Seriously.
But just in terms of the masculine, feminine energy, like I think it's a constant battle for the girl boss society that we're in at the moment.
Yeah. Something we all need to learn a little bit more about.
Be a bit more in tune, myself included.
All of us. I love that. Before we finish up, Beth, where can our followers find you? Where can they work with you these days?
Yep. So my main Instagram is Beth Clare Fitness. So you can check that one out. That's pretty much got all my links to my podcast. Is Beth Clare Fitness, but I'm relaunching that to a different name. And then I've got the Glute Academy, which is my gym and my business. So I've got my online monthly program, the Glute Academy Online. And then you can also train with me in person at the Glute Academy. And then all coaching options are all coaching information is on thegluteacademy.com or the Glute Academy HQ Instagram page.
Love that.
My work about it all.
Yeah, all about the glutes. Well, girls, I hope you enjoyed today's podcast. If you did, please make sure that you recommend it, share it, screenshot it, and tag us at the Women's Fitness Academy, tag myself, tag Beth, and then till next time, just be more self-aware of your training and start being a little bit more in tune about the things that you're doing in life.
That's it. It was lovely chatting.